Super Mario Brothers. Whee!
Nintendo's kind of been at the top of their game recently. The Switch just hit 150 million units sold, which is insane, nearly hitting the record-breaking PS2 sales. And then it makes you think, when was the last time Nintendo was this dominant? When was the last time the console they made had this much relevance in the gaming world? And then you think of the Wii.
We would like to play.
The best thing about the Wii was that there was something for everyone. Seasoned gamers like me could sit on Smash Bros. Brawl, doing absolutely nothing and damaging my cognitive abilities for 12 hours a day. Or parents could bust out the balance board that has now been in Goodwill for 10 years and pretend that they're burning calories. There were so many cool things that this little white box by your TV could do. And the entire experience was brought together by just how great the Wii U's interface was. It was clean, it was functional. It was a little simple, to be honest, but everything that it did right. And it had a lot of personality in something that was essentially a fancy white TV menu. And after the Wii came Nintendo's next big hits, the DSi and the 3DS, which were even better examples of how much a good interface does for a system. I'd start by talking about how awesome the DSi was, but I didn't have one, so the 3DS it is. When you popped open the 3DS, there was so much stuff you could do. And I keep saying so much, I know, but it really was so much. It was a lot more than the Wii. Without ever popping in a game, you could play Street Pass, you could go fishing with the little AR cards, you could play Face Raiders, you could make stop motions with the camera. There was so much to do. And like the Wii, all of it came together with the really nice interface. You've got even more nice background music. It's like easily recognizable and memorable. And you've got boatloads of ways to customize the interface to your exact liking, all sorts of themes, and it all worked together so well. New apps and games even came with a little gift package when you finished downloading them. Nintendo wouldn't be caught dead doing that nowadays. And why is that? Why is it that we don't see any of that raw silliness on the Switch? What happened?
Welcome to the world of Wii U.
Nintendo managed to fall from being the kings of the casual gaming market to the creators of a TV remote that was also a tablet. At least that's what the typical confused dad understood. When they saw that the people who made the awesome white box that came with their bowling simulator was making a tablet, most of them just shrugged it off and thought they didn't need it. And that's because when the console launched, Nintendo really wanted to coast on how successful the Wii was. All the core branding was similar, the home menu was similar, the ads were similar, and the main controller was the exact same. People who didn't know what it was just thought it was an add-on that they didn't need. And that's like 2/3 of your market gone. And the people who did know what it was, they knew that it was something new, just didn't see why they needed it.
If you looked at the PS4 or the Xbox One, two consoles who released within a year of the Wii U, it becomes obvious that Nintendo was kind of lagging on everything that mattered to gamers. Might be wondering, did the Wii U beat them in anything? Short answer, no. But they did have Hello Kitty cruisers. You have that. To put it simply, the Wii U's marketing was a disaster. Not only did it fail to sell itself to gamers, but it failed to convince the general market that it wasn't just a tablet accessory for the Wii. And that sucks. I had one, and it was lots of fun. It had a shit ton of issues, but it was still great. And that commercial failure is what I think led to the state of the Nintendo Switch's interface now. When you open the Switch, as shown in my corny little intro, there's not really a lick of fanfare. The experience has been stripped to the bare essentials. You get into games, you get out of the games. There's like a couple little quirks here and there, and 2 whole themes, which is a cruel tease. But compared to Nintendo's past work, it feels like empty. There's even still a Mii Maker, but you have to like hunt for it, like an animal. It's hidden under multiple different pages of UI, even though it has been like notably updated. And the fact that it's hidden feels almost like sheepish and insecure, and I think that's the real root of the issue. Nintendo sees the image that they had in the Wii U and 3DS era as a threat now. That a wacky, goofy spirit is not their lifeblood anymore. It's like a poison that they're trying to get away from. When you look at the Switch's UI with this sort of critical lens, it kind of becomes really clear how hard they're trying not to be the Wii or the 3DS. And it kind of makes sense. The Wii was a goddamn catastrophe. Nintendo did not want to be associated with that sort of failure at all.
Whose goddamn white baby is that?
This is your baby.
All they wanted to do was leave that whole mess in the past and put their best foot forward. And when you look at the Switch sales, they basically did. So that begs the question, why am I bitching and moaning? Why have I been yapping for so long if they took a step back and it worked for them? And well, the Wii U reached the end of its life and the Switch launched around 2017. Fast forward 4 years, by the end of 2021, the Switch had sold almost 85 million units. Then look at the PS4, notably a massive success, and in its first 4 years, it had only sold 73 million, which is still nuts, but less nuts. It shows that Nintendo's strategy really worked. Everyone knew the Switch was its own thing. So one could maybe assume, after a little bit, they would stop treating their wacky silliness like the goddamn plague. Maybe at long fucking last, a third theme would be added to the themes menu. And it is now 2025. The Switch has been around for 8 goddamn years. It already has a baby. The Switch 2 is getting its own little Nintendo Direct the week after I'm writing this script. And yet, after all this time, nothing really feels different about the original Switch's UI. Nintendo had their chance to sort of reel it in and embrace that fun again, but they never did. They've just kind of been complacent. And it's really disappointing, because the Switch has so many good games. There's so many incredible first-party experiences to be had here, which makes it all the more sore that the thing that ties it all together is so boring. But I really hope that this fatigue ends with the Switch. The Switch 2 is already knocking at the door, and I hope Nintendo is able to take this image that they've stitched back together and have some fun with it. Taking some risks. Everything that they did on the Switch felt so calculated. It felt so held back. And I think it's finally time for them to push a little bit harder and take back what made them distinct in the first place. I don't really care for what it is that they do. More themes, more menu sounds, music, literally anything. It's just time for Nintendo to be silly again. They've earned it.